Oh, honey, buckle up because what we just witnessed on Married to Medicine might be the most unhinged, chaotic, hilarious, and downright messy episode in the show's entire history. And baby, when I say messy, I mean messier than a Thanksgiving family dinner with no cranberry sauce. We had the men throwing more shade than a palm tree, the women nearly tossing drinks across the room, Phaedra Parks straight up speaking in tongues mid-drama, and poor Eugene Harris, bless his heart, struggling to string together a single thought while sipping on what I swear was the shadiest cocktail in Atlanta. And can we give Contessa a standing ovation? Because sis managed to stay out of the drama for once, and honestly, that deserves a whole parade. This episode, Chile, it wasn't just wild, it was spiritual warfare meets Shade Olympics with a sprinkle of what in the reality TV hell is going on. So grab your popcorn, grab your tea, because baby, we are breaking down every juicy, shady, meme-worthy moment. And trust, you do not want to miss a second of this. Woo Chile, if you thought reality TV had peaked, think again. Last night's Married to Medicine was serving pure chaos on a diamond platter. From the men getting neck deep in the drama to the ladies spinning every sip of tea into full-blown nuclear meltdowns, we were fed a 5-course meal of scandal. And Miss Phaedra, oh, she said, "Forget English, darling," and just broke into tongues like it was Sunday service, right in the middle of the drama. I mean, what? But here's the kicker. Beneath all the screaming, shady glances, and spilled drinks, there were deeper truths slipping out. Truths about friendships quietly crumbling, alliances burning, and tensions that had been simmering for years finally boiling over. And for once, Contessa wasn't the eye of the storm. Baby, can you imagine the strength it took to just sit back and sip? We need to bottle that. In this video, we're spilling every ounce of tea, the receipts, the backstory, the real tensions that Bravo didn't even fully catch on camera. Oh yes, by the time we're done, you'll be clutching your pearls, cackling uncontrollably, and maybe even questioning whose side you're really on. So let's dive in, shall we? The men. When keeping it calm goes all the way wrong. Now, let's start with the real shocker of the night. The men. Yup, you heard me right. The husbands, who normally know better than to dip a toe in the ladies' mess, got dragged in face first this time. And baby, it was glorious. First up, Eugene Harris. Normally Mr. Calm, Mr. Logical, Mr. I'm above this foolishness. Not last night. Oh, no. Last night, Eugene could not even get a full sentence out without someone rolling their eyes, interrupting him, or flat out laughing in his face. It was like watching someone try to give a TED Talk during a WWE cage match. Poor Eugene, bless his soul, was trying to insert some common sense into the mess, but couldn't get 2 words out before being swallowed up by the madness. Was he losing his touch? Or was this just the beginning of the men being dragged to the front lines? Spoiler alert, it gets worse. Much worse. Because while Eugene was struggling, Phaedra Parks, Queen of Dramatics, decided it was time to snatch the narrative away. How? By busting out in tongues mid-shade session like the Holy Ghost had tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Go forth, daughter." 1 second, she was throwing shade with a glass of champagne. The next, she was speaking a whole ancient language nobody could translate, not even Google. And the men? Oh, the men were shooketh, confused, bewildered, low-key terrified. They didn't know if they should call a priest, grab a Bible, or just quietly back out of the room. What started as a petty spat turned into a full-blown spiritual battle royale, and baby, nobody was ready, but just when you thought it couldn't get messier. The shady tension boils. Over the tension, y'all. It was so thick you could have sliced it with a butter knife, and right when we thought the ladies were about to settle down and sip their tea like civilized messmakers, bam! It exploded. Eugene's failed attempt to calm the room actually made everything worse, because suddenly it wasn't just the ladies beefing, it was the men being forced to pick sides. The women. Gloves off, baby, now. Let's get to the real tea. The ladies. Listen, the women are always the main event, but this time, they were serving full Super Bowl level drama. Everyone was on edge. Tensions had been simmering all season, and this was the night the pot boiled over. And get this, Contessa for once wasn't in the middle of it. Oh, but she had front row seats to the mess, sipping her drink like she was watching Game of Thrones live. Meanwhile, the women, good lord, they weren't just arguing. They were throwing down with their souls. It was like a high-stakes poker game. Nobody trusted anybody. Everyone had receipts. You couldn't tell who was bluffing and who was all in. And who was at the center of it? Our queens of shade, Phaedra and Sweet Tea. Phaedra had been sitting back, plotting, but once she unleashed those tongues, Baby, the whole room shifted. T's face said it all. Confusion, frustration, and maybe even a little fear. This wasn't a normal shade session. This was a full-on spiritual showdown. The Jasmine bombshell, and then, out of nowhere, like a cat waiting in the shadows, Jasmine pounced. Miss Jasmine, who had been lurking, plotting, and calculating all season, picked her moment perfectly. As Phaedra was still speaking in tongues and everyone was rattled, Jasmine dropped her own nuclear bomb, exposing secrets nobody saw coming. Baby, Jasmine didn't just spill the tea, she poured the whole damn kettle. Backdoor dealings, shady alliances, personal betrayals. Honey, people's dirty laundry was out there flapping in the wind for the whole world to see. Was it a calculated move? Of course. But did we eat it up? Absolutely. The tension in the room was so heavy, it felt like even the cameras were holding their breath. The men looked around, realizing they couldn't just stay neutral anymore. It was loyalty time, and the wrong move could end friendships, marriages, even careers. Contessa, silent assassin moves. And just when you thought it was safe, here comes Contessa, out of the shadows, looking calm as a cucumber. For a woman who spent the entire season staying out of the mess, she picked the perfect moment to strike. And when she did, baby, it was a surgical takedown. Contessa didn't yell, she didn't pop off. She dropped a sharp, calculated bomb, aimed straight at someone she once called a friend. The looks on their faces? Priceless. In one single devastating comment, Contessa exposed the cracks, broke the alliances, and basically set the whole stage on fire. And the wildest part? The drama wasn't even close to over. Now, Chili, just when you thought the drama had reached maximum capacity, boom. Eugene, the poor man who couldn't get a full sentence out earlier, accidentally let it slip, and baby, the slip heard around the world. You could see the panic on his face the moment the words left his mouth. It was like time froze. People gasped, heads turned, drinks paused midair, because what Eugene exposed wasn't just petty drama. No, what he let slip was a deep secret, one that had been bubbling under the surface for way too long. A secret about betrayal, about lies, about manipulation that had been wrapped up pretty and paraded around like it was nothing but love and light. And suddenly, everyone realized they weren't just playing a reality show game anymore. They were living a full-blown social chess match with careers, marriages, and reputations at stake. You could hear a pin drop after Eugene's bombshell. The women froze. The men looked like they wanted to melt into the walls. And Eugene, bless him, he just sat there like he wished he could teleport into another universe. Jake drops a bomb bigger than Eugene's. Now, hold up. If you thought Eugene's slip was the final act, think again, because here comes Jake. Jake, who had been eerily quiet for most of the chaos, watching, observing, planning, decided this was his moment to shine. And baby E, when he opened his mouth, he didn't just throw shade, he dropped a whole asteroid. Jake casually, and I mean casually like he was talking about the weather, referenced an old incident, one so scandalous, so forbidden, that nobody had dared to bring it up on camera before. But Jake just flung it into the middle of the room like it was nothing. And when he did, everyone's jaws hit the floor. It wasn't just a petty call-out, it was a full-scale exposure that cracked open years of hidden secrets. Chile, the women started squirming in their seats. The men shifted uncomfortably, and even the producers probably leaned in a little closer behind those cameras. Jake had officially snatched the power and the spotlight with one simple, devastating reveal. Phaedra Parks, from Shade Queen to spiritual conductor. Now listen, if there's one thing Phaedra Parks knows how to do, it's turn chaos into an art form. But what she did next, baby, even for her, this was next level. Right when Jake dropped that nuclear truth bomb and the whole room was teetering on collapse, Phaedra decided, you know what? Let me just snatch these edges one more time. So what does she do? She starts speaking in tongues again. But this time, it wasn't funny. It wasn't cute. This time, it was powerful. The atmosphere shifted. It didn't feel like a reality show anymore. It felt like a spiritual battleground. Phaedra wasn't just throwing shade, she was calling on something bigger, something deeper, something nobody in that room was prepared to deal with. You could see it on their faces, confusion, fear, awe. Was she protecting herself, casting out demons, or was she trying to manipulate the energy and regain control of the narrative? Either way, baby, it worked, because everyone, even the loudest ones, went dead silent. Phaedra had the room in the palm of her hand. Eugene strikes back. But wait, don't count Eugene out yet. Our boy, who had been fumbling all episode, saw what Phaedra was doing and realized if he didn't step up, he was going to get swept right off the board. And y'all, Eugene came back swinging. No stuttering, no fumbling. This time, his words were sharp, calculated, and aimed straight at the heart. Eugene dropped another bombshell, one that not only exposed more lies, but also painted himself as the new voice of reason in the madness. He wasn't just spilling tea now, he was flipping the whole damn table over. You could feel the shift in the room. People started realizing Eugene wasn't just the lovable husband in the background anymore. He was a player, a strategist, a problem, Jake's final blow. But then, oh sweet heavens, Jake wasn't done. Jake, who had been holding on to his trump card like a master poker player, decided it was time to finish the job. While Eugene was reclaiming the stage, Jake stepped forward and dropped the final fatal blow. He alluded to even bigger secrets. Secrets so huge, they didn't just involve one or two people, they involved everyone. He didn't say it outright, because he's too smart for that. But he made it very clear. While all this nuclear drama was exploding around her, Contessa, still sitting back, still calm, still dangerous, she wasn't panicking, she wasn't defending herself, she wasn't scrambling for cover, nope. Contessa was quietly watching everyone else implode, and when the dust started to settle, when Eugene looked triumphant and Jake looked dangerous and everyone else looked like they'd just survived a war, Contessa finally opened her mouth, and baby, she didn't yell, she didn't scream, she didn't even raise her voice. She just calmly, methodically, and devastatingly dropped one last statement that left everyone gagging. She reminded them all that while they were busy fighting, lying, and exposing each other, she had been keeping notes, she had been playing chess, she had the power to finish the game whenever she wanted. And then, Contessa sat back and sipped her tea like the queen she is. Final thoughts. The game has changed by the end of the night. The whole dynamic had been ripped apart. Eugene exposed hidden truths. Jake revealed buried scandals. Phaedra turned the spiritual switch on. And Contessa, baby, she reminded everybody who the real MVP was. Friendships shattered, alliances questioned, reputations on the brink, and the tea scalding hot. This wasn't just a fight. This was a total reshaping of the Married to Medicine universe. And trust, nothing will ever be the same again. Or be the same again. Or be